Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the OITTM Time Light. This is a very cleverly designed original alarm clock that sells for 30 bucks on Amazon, and it also dubs as an LED mood light when you're not using it for telling the time, and it also is capable of giving you the humidity levels and the temperature of a room. It's rechargeable using micro USB, and you can see the packaging here. They've done a bit of work. It comes in a few different color iterations, and in the packaging you have access to the instruction manual that documents the various functions, how to set up alarms, and to snooze it simply by shaking the alarm. And there's also a micro USB cable for charging. It takes roughly 2 hours to completely recharge, but since it uses LED technology and goes to sleep after a few seconds of inactivity, it should last you roughly 2 months before you need to recharge it again. So you can tell here that the design here is definitely eye-catching. It's a relatively small alarm though, so if we put it next to a cell phone you can see the size. And the body of the device is made out of the soft touch rubber material, so it feels pretty well constructed despite not being element proof or waterproof. What's clever is on the very top they've used magnets to stick on the USB charging port, so you simply pop in the standard micro USB cable to start charging, and the alarm clock still works when you are charging it, and you can also recharge it using a standard power bank. This also acts as a lanyard, so you can hang it up onto a wall or onto a tent when you're traveling and taking it with you, since it is quite compact. So it's kind of shaped like a flame or a candle when you're not using it, and you can tap on the power key for a few seconds to pop it back on. Afterwards, it uses gravity sensors to detect what mode it should be in. So for instance, you can see here on the bottom we have access to just a time and date, but when we flip it over, it turns on the light automatically. And again, it becomes a nice mood light or a reading lamp. It's definitely bright enough for some basic reading in bed. If you want to check your phone, this is a nice little piece, and you simply flip it over again to turn it off and to go back to the time and date. So everything is quite seamless, and there were no real accuracy errors when we tried using and flipping the accelerometer 99% of the time. The brightness of the light can also be controlled. You can tap on the plus or minus, which are typically used to adjust and change the date when you're in the alarm clock mode, but you can see that it gets quite bright, and then of course you can make it dimmer as well depending on your needs. So I can flip it over again and show you guys the regular time display, which is in this kind of interesting retro style. It's using these dot matrix that reminds me of HTC's dot view cases, and you can see that it shows off the information quite well. It's using an array of LED lights beneath this plastic sheath, and it gets quite bright. It's definitely visible in the dark, and it goes to sleep after a few seconds of inactivity. You can just tap on it to wake it back up to save on power. Viewing angles though are a little bit limited, so be sure to place it, I guess, next to a nightstand or somewhere close by, just so you can still see the time information. So to activate the different modes, you simply twist the alarm clock. I can twist it once on the side to take a look at the thermometer or the temperature in degrees Celsius. I can twist it in a more extreme extent to activate the humidity level inside the house. It does a decent job of that. I should mention that the thermometer function is fairly accurate compared to a home thermostat. It seemed to be within 1 or 2 degrees Celsius of the room that I was in. So it's a pretty accurate sensor on here despite being quite small. And when you're satisfied, I can simply again rotate it the other way or rotate it a little bit smaller degree to return it back to the time. So again, a wider swing will activate some of the various modes like the date information, whereas a smaller swing returns it back to its original time mode. We see an array of LED lights that are blue on the very edges of the display, and this correlates to the alarm being on the on mode. As an alarm, it does a decent job, but it's a mono alarm. It's only meant to chime and a very basic ring, so you can't actually change the ringtone or customize it. It's not Bluetooth enabled. You can't connect it to your phone, but for the most part, it's decently loud, and you can definitely hear it in the morning. And when you're ready, you simply you can shake it to activate the snooze mode, or flip it over, and that also activates the snooze for you. So there are definitely a few smart features on board, but it's not a wake-up light, even though it has this LED light on the other side. So it's not going to activate the light in addition to having the alarm be on at the same time. But overall, it does a pretty good job, and I think that it's the design that it's really clever here. The features themselves work quite well. The look here is quite striking, and the fact that you use an accelerometer and the gravity sensor to activate all of the various features is something that I haven't seen before, and it's quite unique and actually pretty easy to get used to without having to dig too deep into the instructions. The features themselves, again, are fairly clever in how they're implemented, and I think that most folks will be pleased with its design and overall functionality. The build here, again, is quite strong, and the corners themselves are pretty soft as well, so if you want to give this to a kid as a gift idea, it also serves a nice purpose for that. So you can check out more details in our upcoming article, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the OITTM Time Clock. Definitely a very interesting smart alarm clock that retails for under $30.